All right, so what we're doing here is what we did last time. We're going to figure out the most common ions for these two elements, and then we're going to figure out what compound they make, okay? So first thing you want to do is look for potassium. Potassium is K, and if you look at K on the periodic table, it's in the column that's +1, right? So K is going to be K+. So potassium wants to form a K+ ion, okay? All right, next we're going to look for oxygen. So if we look at oxygen on the periodic table, we're going to go to the right side. And hopefully you guys can see that oxygen is -2. So the ion that oxygen is going to want to form is 2-. All right, any questions on the ions that they want to form? Okay, again, just follow the pattern that we learned last time on your periodic table. All right, so we want to balance the positive and the negative energy. So if you guys take a look at it, we have more negative energy than we have positives, right? So we're going to need a second potassium to balance out the oxygen. And so if you combine those together, you're going to form K2O, okay? And that's going to be your ionic compound. Okay, and the reason why we write it like this is because now they're combined together, and there's 2 potassiums needed to balance out the oxygen. So there's 2 potassiums in this molecule and an oxygen in that molecule. All right, any questions? Hopefully not too bad. Make sure you guys have this written down. Our first example is going to be using this problem right here. So just make sure you have it jotted down because we will be referring back to this. Alrighty, guys. So today what we're going to be learning is we're going to be learning how to write something called chemical equations. And chemical equations are basically how chemists, they communicate what happens when you mix chemicals together. So there's a very specific format that they follow. We're going to be using this format pretty much for the rest of the year. And so just make sure you're following along. If you guys have questions, let me know. Feel free to stop me, but let's get right into it. Okay, so you guys do not need to copy all this down. I'll tell you what's important, but a chemical equation basically shows you what chemicals you start with and what chemicals you end up with, okay? So what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to write down this part right here. Okay, this is the general format of what a chemical equation looks like. But basically you have reactant 1, so your first starting chemical. So this is your one of your starting chemicals. And then for this unit, we're going to have 2 starting chemicals. So you have 2 chemicals that you start with. You can consider these like your starting ingredients. And so we just write them next to each other with a plus sign separating them. And then we draw an arrow to represent what they're going to make. And then this is pretty much your end product. Okay, so this is the format that we follow for writing a chemical equation. You write the 2 chemicals you're going to start with, separated by a plus sign, and then we draw an arrow to represent what chemical they're going to make. And that's generally what all chemical equation looks like. There's a left side of the arrow, which is the chemicals you start with, and then the right side of the arrow, which is the chemicals you end up making. Okay. The technical term is reactants and products. All right, so if you guys look here, underneath that, we have the chemical equation for the problem that we just did. In the previous problem, we had 2 starting chemicals, right? We had K+ and we had O2-. And then we draw an arrow to show that they made K2O, okay? Seems pretty familiar, right? It's the problem we just did. Now, in a chemical equation, we also need to specify how many of each we had. So if you look at the problem we just did, we said that we needed 2 K+, we needed 1 O2-, and it produces 1 molecule of K2O. Okay, and so this is what the chemical equation for what we just did looks like. So take a second to copy this down, because this is a general format that will help you out. If you guys notice, we have numbers in front. These are called coefficients. It's like in math. Okay, and this shows you how many of these chemicals we have. Okay, we have 2 Ks, 1 O, and then it makes 1 K2O. Okay. And so all we got to do when we write a chemical equation is we just need to figure out how many of each we have, and we just write it in this format right here. So I'll give you guys a second to copy that down. And then we have 3 examples that'll help us kind of solidify how to write these. And then I'll get you started on your assignment. All right, guys. So if we take a look at aluminum on the periodic table, hopefully you guys can identify that it has a charge of +3. Okay, so on our papers, we're going to start off by writing Al 3+. Okay, everybody good with that part? Next, we're going to look at bromine. And so if we look at bromine on the periodic table, it's right here. And if you guys look at the charge, it's going to be -1. Okay, so the 2 compounds or the 2 ions that we are starting with, our starting reactants are going to be Al3+ and Br-. Okay, so far so good, guys? All right, now we're going to be combining these together. So we're going to put a plus sign in between them and then an arrow sign going to the right. Okay, and all we got to do now is fill in the numbers in front of each. Okay, so if you guys notice, here we have more positive energy, so we're going to need more bromines, right? How many bromines do we need in total? 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a 3 in front of Br-. And we don't need any more Als, so we just need one of them. So we're just going to put a 1 in front. Okay, so all we're doing is communicating the 2 ions that we need and how many of each we need. So 1 Al3+ and 3 Br-. Okay. So far so good on that side? Hopefully not too bad. And then on the right side, the chemical that we make, we're only going to make one chemical because they're all combining together. And the chemical we're going to make is AlBr3. Okay, because the Al, one of them is going to combine with 3 Brs to make this compound right here. So if you kind of want to visualize it, I'll do it with just colored circles. But if you consider this red circle, the Al, you only need one of that. You need 3 separate Br-. And what's going to happen is they're going to combine and they're going to form one molecule. It's still made of the same things, but it's going to be one combined molecule. So something like that. Okay, so you only have one of this, but the one molecule is made out of all 4 of these circles right here. And it's always going to follow the exact same format. So a number, a chemical, plus sign, a number, a chemical, and then an arrow, the number 1, and then whatever chemical you end up making. Okay. All right, so I do want to give you guys a little bit of practice with that. So I'm going to give you guys about 3 minutes. See if you guys can try number 2. I'll leave the example problem up there just so you guys can see it as an example for the formatting. But I'll give you guys 3 minutes. Just try your best. Try to find the same formatting for this problem. And then I'll go over it, and then we'll go on to the last example problem. Okay. Okay, so let's take a look at number 2. Hopefully you guys are able to find that magnesium is Mg2+, and that nitrogen is N3-. Everybody got that for the ions? Okay. Okay, we are combining these together. And then hopefully you guys are able to find out you're going to need 3 of these Mgs and 2 of the nitrogens. So we draw an arrow. And then we're going to make 1 of the same compound, or of one of the product compound, and it's going to be Mg3N2. So there you go. That's the general format. If you guys notice, it's very similar to the one on the top. Just to make it a little easier, I will let you guys know for this unit, it will always be a 1 after the arrow sign. So if you just want to keep that in mind, just automatically put that in, you can. In later units, when we get into more advanced chemistry, it'll change. But for this unit, you'll always be making just 1 of the product compound. Okay. All right, now let's talk about how to put this into your Google Docs when you guys are doing your assignment, because you will have to write the entire equation. So let's take a look at number 1, just because it's higher up so you guys can see it better. So what you guys would do for your Google Doc is you're going to write 1, and then you're going to write your chemical, Al. you can just put 3 plus behind it, or you can raise it up. The way that you raise it up is you press Control and then period. So you could do that as well, but that's not required. If you just put AL3 plus, that's totally fine with me as well. Okay, but just to make it look nice, let's do Control period. All right, and then you would put a plus sign, and then you would write 3 BR and then Control period for minus. And then what you can do is you can either make an arrow sign by drawing a dash and then this symbol right here. Oops, sorry. This symbol right here, or just to make it easier, you can just do an equal sign. Okay. And then 1, and then AL, BR, and then to go down, you press Control, comma. Okay. Or you can just put the 3 behind it. Either way, I'm comfortable with that. Okay. Okay, but that's how you would put it in your Google Docs. You could either, you don't have to put the signs up or down. You can just put the numbers in the correct place. And for this, you could do either the equal sign or an arrow. Okay? Either works. All right, any questions? We're gonna do one last one just to make sure we have it dialed in. All right, I will have you guys try number 3 with the person next to you. This will be our last practice problem. See if you guys can get the final answer, and then we'll get you guys started on your assignment, okay? Alrighty, guys, so I put the answer up there on the screen for you guys. You'll need 1 U4 plus, 2 O2 minuses, and that makes UO2, okay? All right, so just for the sake of time, I'll get you guys started on your assignment and quiz. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. I'm more than happy to help you guys out. Also, if you don't want to type this all up and just want to do it on a piece of paper, you could do that, take a picture and attach it to the assignment. And that's a totally valid way to turn it in as well. Because I know that putting the numbers up and down on the Chromebook could be a little annoying. So please feel free to just write it out, take a picture, and submit that as well, okay? Other than that, good luck on your assignment, and let me know if you have any questions.